It's become a part of Richmond folklore, hasn't it? And it's been quite a fairy tale of previous years, replaced by controversy. But they are the reigning premiers and they're backing themselves to make it a Tiger dynasty.
We feel like we've got a good blueprint for what sets us up for the best crack at it and giving ourselves the best chance of performing in that first week of finals. So we feel like we've our fitness staff have developed a really good blueprint for that. So we've just followed the model that we've done over the last 3 years.
Well, you couldn't possibly argue with that, but rewind to round 4 and the Tigers looked sluggish, and there was belief that their apprehension about going into a hub would ruin their shot at going back-to-back.
Early on, I probably, like a lot of people, was a bit emotional about it in terms of going, oh, well, I've never been in this position before, so it's sort of a little bit of the unknown for me. But yeah, no, I'm glad they're up here now. But yeah, it's obviously tough being away from, especially when you've got a young family, being away from them. But that's part of 2020 and what footy's been about.
Sydney Stack and Callum Coleman-Jones's very public COVID indiscretions also put the club under heavy scrutiny.
We've had some poor indiscretions this year. We accept that, and we've been trying to rectify those and do our part to earn the respect back of obviously our fans and our members and the football community as a whole. But there's no point dwelling on them now leading into what's the most important part of the year.
In amongst all of that, they won 11 of their last 13 games. Brownlow favourite Lachie Neale and Brisbane await them. The Lions have lost their last 15 against the Tigers.
Really, we know he's a great player, and we could send someone to him, but we feel like for us as a group, we defend well as a team. So yeah, we've got some damaging guys in there as well, but we know that we're going to have to be watching out for him because he's arguably had the best year of any player this year.
Fellow spearhead Tom Lynch has been ruled out with a hamstring injury, but Dion Prestia will make his much-awaited return from an ankle injury. Tough midfielder Jack Graham will stay at the club for 3 more years, and Graham believes his signature is a significant boost in their bid to win their 3rd flag in 4 years.
That makes me extremely happy for him, but I think he was referring to himself as Dusty because Dusty did it in 2017, and then obviously we went on to win the premiership from there, and he was thinking that maybe he'd held on just for that bye-week spurt and news cycle that the club needed. But
Tom Wilson, Fox Sports News.
Ahead of a massive first week of the finals, let's bring in Thursday regular Lee Montagna to preview all the action. Joey, great to see you. The minor premiers Port Adelaide and the battle-hardened Cats kick things off tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a beauty to start the final series, Drew. Looking forward to this one. Port Adelaide have done nothing wrong all year. All their indicators, all the stats point in the right direction that they're going to be up for the fight. And the Cats, well, they've been terrific all season. We know they've got their superstars and some ageing veterans, and it might be their last tilt at a flag. So I can't wait for it. I'm leaning slightly towards Geelong. There's probably a bit of bias there. I've tipped them a long way out to win this premiership, but I just think there's something about this group. They've got a steely resolve. The failures they've had in previous years, I think will hold them in good stead, and I think their experience might just get them over a line in absolute beauty.
Joey, talk to me about the implications of the Cats selection decision, particularly Asava Ratugolea axed in favour of Reece Stanley.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Chris Scott, and there's going to be a lot of talk about this selection. He's decided to go with just Reece Stanley, and Blitzarves is going to play as that second ruck. They've done it a number of times this year where Blitzarves will start on the wing. He'll come and play as that mobile ruckman around the ground, and Reece Stanley will go and push forward and basically play as that second tall forward with Tom Hawkins. That means they're going to rely on Harry Taylor and Henderson, which they have for the majority of the year, to hold down those key posts in the back line, even though Mark Blitzarves is probably their best defender. So if they win, it'll be a masterstroke. If they lose and Charlie Dixon maybe gets a hold of the Geelong defenders, there'll be a lot of talk about that. But you've got to back in the coaching staff. They've had a good chance to look at what they think their best lineup is going into this final series, and that's what they've gone with. So Chris Scott's going to be a watch to see how that pans out.
Yep, Cats haven't lost since round 3 with Stanley in the team. Port Adelaide had a big call to make. They brought back Tom Cleary from injury to stand beside Tom Hawkins tonight, who tore him to shreds last time they met.
Yeah, he did, but I think that Tom Cleary will get a crack at him again, whether it's for the full game. They are a bit of a team defence where they will at times have to rotate and come off and support one another, but you've got to give Cleary another crack. He's been super all year for Port Adelaide. Yes, Tom Hawkins got a hold of him. There's been a lot spoken about that game. There's been a lot of vision of the isolation that Tom Hawkins got, I'm sure they've spoken about that. A lot of it's going to rely on the pressure in the midfield. If they force Geelong to kick long high balls, they'll be able to get support. But if they get what they got last time, Geelong, and Dangerfield is able to break away from those contests, and Guthrie and Duncan and Menegola, and get really good looks at going to Hawkins, there's not too many key defenders in the competition that can stop him. So they're going to rely on that team defence, and particularly that midfield pressure. And I don't think we're going to see the type of game that Tom Hawkins delivered last time.
Teams have dropped for tomorrow night, Joey. Confirmation Andrews will play for the Lions. No Lynch for Richmond. Is the pendulum swinging Brisbane's way?
Slightly. No doubt it does help. It probably means that Harris Andrews can play on Jack Riewoldt, or if they choose, can be that intercept mark and really try and thwart the Richmond attack. Look, you'd still got to favour Richmond in this, as we just heard before. 11 of their last 13 wins. 5 or 6 weeks out from finals, they still had some holes in their games. There were still parts of their ground ball and their defence that were leaking some goals, but they've tightened that up. They're the form team, and it's going to be a tough ask for the Brisbane Lions to win this one.
Joey, we talk about this guy a lot, but Dustin Martin again shapes as a key man tomorrow night after he kicked 6 in this same fixture last season.
Yeah, look, he's one of the greatest all-time finals performers. We can't argue with that anymore. 2 Norm Smiths, but he's also what he's done in other finals. He's just one of the best finals players we've seen. I think Brisbane Lions have to put someone on him from start to finish. The way that Richmond play, Dustin plays as a forward, so particularly with Prestia back in the side, Shea Bolton back, Shane Edwards. We know about Cochin as well. Dusty will play as a forward. He will go into centre bounces and he will come up into stoppages. But I think Brisbane need to set a defender to go with him everywhere. Fremantle did it a few weeks ago with Reece Conker, and it worked really well against Dustin. He had probably his poorest game of the season. I think it might be the role for someone like Darcy Gardner, just to pick him up. If he goes into the stoppages, go in with him and just try your best to nullify his influence, because for mine, he's still Richmond's best midfielder and he's their best forward. So I think Brisbane are going to have to put a fair bit of work into Dusty if they're to win this tomorrow night.
Saints against the Dogs, Joey. You'll be watching this closely. Great year for St Kilda. The real test comes now, particularly for those players who haven't played in a game this big before.
Yeah, it is. It's been a great effort for this club to play finals from where they've been in previous years, and everyone's pretty excited. All the Saints fans are. But you're right, the big challenge is not many of the players that have played for St Kilda for a long time have played finals. I think Jake Carlisle and Geary have played one final each, but this is where their recruiting has been so good. Not only have the players played so well this year in Zach Jones and Brad Hill and Dan Butler, they've all got finals experience, including Dan Hanbury. So they're going to be looking to those guys to really lead the way and set the example. And I mean, we don't know how the other players are going to perform. You would expect guys like Billings and Seb Ross and some others that have waited a while, Tim Membry, this is their real opportunity to stamp themselves. So I think they'll be up for the challenge, but the Western Bulldogs, they'll be smarting after their performance in last year's final against the GWS Giants. So they're going to come out breathing fire. Saints have got to be prepared to match that and go past it with their pressure and really get after the Western Bulldogs.
Joey, we appreciate your time, and for your sake, we'll be cheering for the Saints on the weekend.
Yeah, go the Saints. Thanks, Drew.
Lee Montagna, former St Kilda midfielder, joining us. All right, let's head to Adelaide Oval. Mark Rasciuto is with Port assistant Brent Montgomery.
You boys are fully fit and ready to go.
It's a great time of year. We're fit. We've got a healthy list, as have they. It's been that type of year where we've been pretty healthy most of the year, and now we get to pick pretty much from our best squad.
How's Tommy Rockley feeling this week? Hadn't played finals in over 200 games.
It's just a bizarre number that someone that experienced can go that length of time with no finals games at all. Such a prolific ball winner. I'd expect him a big night tonight.
What happened last time you played the Cats? Did you guys have a bad day, or were they just really good?
Look, I think it was a perfect storm, to be honest. It's probably their best game for the year, give or take. And clearly we had no energy for it. We didn't defend well. We were terrible with the ball. So we're going to be so much better off for the experience. But we're going to have to be really, really special tonight to get close to these guys.
Does Tom Cleary get first crack at Tom Hawkins?
Well, whether he gets first crack, he'll get a crack. I think we've got Jonas, McKenzie and Cleary, who we all trust in that role. But I think you'll see it's shared time.
Are you worried about danger in the midfield more or forward?
Personally, I'm worried about him forward, but I know Ken's pretty worried about the midfield, so
all right.
See how it falls.
Good luck tonight. Cheers, Monty.
Bounce down not far away at Adelaide Oval. Thanks so much for your company on AFL tonight. Enjoy the finals.
possible. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Someone's suing Hungry Jack's. They reckon Aussies are confusing the Big Jack with some American burger, but the Big Jack's clearly bigger with 25% more Aussie beef, flame grilled with a barbecue taste. And you can only get the Big Jack at Hungry Jack's. The burgers are better.
Once there was a huge
Your kids never stop surprising you. Give some surprise back. Discover the new toys of Dino Dash and Fairy Friends. Kinder Surprise. Life is made of surprise.
Hey, babe.
Hey, I've been held up.
Where are you?
Why?
You sound different.
Do I?
Yeah, you do.
Please do.
What did you buy? Yeah. Me too.
The new T-Rock and T-Cross. You'll just want one. Volkswagen.
This grinding season continues.
Here we go. You can't script this. Live sport, the best reality TV there is. There's another twist to this script. Tough, but brilliant. That's off the scale.
This program brought to you by Macca's. Play the Monopoly game at Macca's today. NAB, supporting footballers from NAB AFL Auskick to the big time. Harvey Norman, everything you need in electrical, technology, furniture and bedding. And the Ford Ranger. Live the Ranger life.
I'm losing my head, I'm all out of touch. I'm feeling so dangerous. I can't get ahead, and I've had enough. I'm feeling so dangerous. I get this feeling when I'm running on empty, like I'm on fire and there's nothing left to burn. The chance to blow it all to hell is so tempting. It's now or never, 'cause you never learn. I get up, I get down, kiss the sky, hit the ground. Don't know why, don't know how. I get high, I get low. I got no place to go. Like my goose, now it's broke. I'm losing my head, I'm all out of touch. I'm feeling so dangerous.
It's the strangest year in so many ways, but it could be the most electric of final series.
I get up, I get down, kiss the sky, hit the ground. Don't know why, don't know how. Nobody does it better. I get high, I get low. I got no place to go. Like my goose, now it's broke. I'm losing my head, I'm all out of touch. I'm feeling so dangerous. I can't get ahead, and I've had enough. I'm feeling so
in 2020.
You need to go out there night after night and perform.
They've got the Stars to be dangerous in the finals.
Dangerous, so dangerous. I'm dangerous, so dangerous. I'm dangerous, so dangerous. I'm dangerous. I'm losing my head. I'm all out of touch. I'm feeling so dangerous.
As good as it gets. I'm all out of touch. Oh my goodness. That is massive.
I can't get ahead, and I've had enough. I'm feeling so dangerous.
King Charles, that's what you're looking.
I'm losing my head. I'm all out of touch. I'm feeling so dangerous. I'm feeling so dangerous.
How good is that? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Finals Footy, brought to you by Ford Ranger. How good is it to be here in this extraordinary season 2020, when at various stages throughout the year we wondered whether in fact we'd get here, but we have, and what two wonderful teams have got to kick us off. The fairy tale is alive for Port Adelaide. What better way to celebrate 150 years in existence than with a premiership? And can Geelong present Patrick Dangerfield with the only award that has eluded him thus far? Two great teams to get us ready. Johnny Brown and Nick Revolt, two great men to talk us through this pre-game. Looking forward to it, lads.
Oh, yeah. We've all got great memories, don't we, from this time of year. Usually we're talking about getting ready for September. Now it's October.
We've got some bad memories as well.
We've got a few of those sprinkled in there, but this brings back the feelings, I think, more than the memories almost. The feeling.
But hang on, I just got to stop you. The people sitting at home are going, what is it? Finals footy, is it that much different really to home and away?
So Port Adelaide have been on top all year, and every week they're looking at the ladder, they're on top. Every week they've had that reassurance that they're the best team in the competition. It's a grid position now, so it is completely different. So the nerves go up, the anxiety goes up, the stress level goes up, but the competitors, they love it.
Absolutely, you look forward to it, but no matter how long you've been playing for, really, or how young you are, whether it's your first final or your 15th final, I associate with those anxieties. And just the drive to the game, or sitting on the bus, the butterflies start creeping in, and there's that doubt. There's that little man sitting on your shoulder going, geez, if you're Geelong, our record hasn't been great. If you're Port Adelaide, a lot of the boys haven't played finals. How am I going to cope in finals pressure? So it's just fantastic. It's like nothing else you experience.
And it's magnified. Yeah. This is what I get out of this. This is where people say your reputations are made, because it's magnified to the nth degree. We will look at this, we'll dissect it. Everyone's going to be all over this, and it's the difference between your team going into a prelim or going back in the ruck into cutthroat finals.
That's the hard thing, Gaz, because it is magnified and there's so much talk about and press around it. As an individual player, trying to avoid thinking about, I need to do more. I need to go into the telephone box and put the Superman cape on. The more you can focus on as a player to just do your role for the team and get back to the basics, quite often the better you play, but it's hard not to fall into that trap, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can play the game as well. If you haven't been there a lot, you can play the game before it's actually been played. And it's funny, isn't it, now? This is a time of year where, as a player, where you're made to feel uncomfortable. You really are, because of everything we've just spoken about. But there's 10 other sides that are sitting at home that would love to be feeling uncomfortable right about now.
And I think we associate, for all of us, usually our last final we ever play is usually a loss, isn't it?
Unless you get the
ultimate
fairy tale.
The Crawford fairy tale.
Yeah. So just digging the knife in there, I think, Brownie.
Hey, mate, all of us,
for us.
all of us have ended with a losing final, haven't we? So it's bad.
There's those that have won it, mate, and there's those that haven't. You don't have to say. Let's have a look at the road to glory here. I just love the way that these finals have fallen too. I just think there's storylines throughout the whole joint tonight. No excuses. Top of the ladder. The Cats, Joel Selwood said, we cannot be better for this, so put it out on the line. Then we go to Brisbane and Richmond tomorrow night. How much better have the Lions got up against their nemesis team? Two exciting teams in the Saints and the Bulldogs, and then the last final, the replay of the 2018 grand final. How far have these two teams come or fallen?
I don't think they could have scripted the first week better. In terms of matchups, and we talk about scoring or the lack of scoring often, I think there's some good matchups there for high-scoring, exciting games, really.
Even the games that these teams have played when they've played each other this year. They've been incredible in terms of the storylines from within those games. So
Well, let's
tonight's a great example of that, Gaz.
We're going to get into it. And look, toss the coin. So we split the teams up, which we like to do. So you've got Geelong, and you've spent the week looking at Geelong and dissecting them. Brownie, you've got Port Adelaide, top of the table. So you're going to have a look at that. And the starting point, whether we like it or not, and Port Adelaide might, rail at the fact that we bring up round 12. But this is our most recent measuring stick right here. So for you, Rui, as the man in charge of Geelong, what are you taking from this round 12 belting? Are you feeling good? Are you a bit worried? Are you concerned? Where do you sit?
No, we're feeling great because we've got the blueprint now. We know the formula for beating Port Adelaide, and that's smash them in the contest.
Right.
So Port Adelaide are a great contest team. We belted them.
23 up.
Yep, and then we moved the footy. So that was really important as well. So our ability to take the footy from one end to the other. Port Adelaide loved to play a forward half game. We got the game on our terms all night.
So you're feeling good. You've had, 8 weeks to sit back and look at that, and you've bounced back. Your form since then's been really good, Port Adelaide. What are you looking at? Are you happy that came then and not now?
Absolutely. And our MO is the contest. And Kenny Hinkley said it right. We just didn't have the energy for the contest on that night. They were on the back of a tough run. They had a big win against Richmond the week before. But Port Adelaide's game is contested football. Winning the clearances, getting into your forward half and then locking it in there.
Do you address it? Do you address it if you're Kenny Hinkley? Last start.
Well, I'm not sure you need to address it. I think there's an element of the game that they will address. But I think the main part of the game, get into their forward half and lock it in there. Absolutely. But there's an interesting one, the guys that did come up, because their ability to really move the ball has been an issue. And it was against Geelong that night. And one of the players might have given us a bit of an insight.
Well, I think the players have been a bit more expansive with their answers, whether it's hub life or whatever the case is. But you've picked up on this really well as the head of Port Adelaide. I don't know whether you are happy with this, but Tommy Rockcliffe gave us a little insight into what they're hoping to achieve this time around.
We've got to go about it a little bit differently as well and make sure that we maintain possession a little bit more than what we did that night. We just couldn't find any marks coming out of our back half, and we know how good they are early in defence, and we didn't give Charlie many opportunities. So we feel like we're in a much better position now than what we were at that time, and we didn't have our best night and they had an outstanding night, and it was a credit to them how well they played and took our game off us.
So you're going to maintain possession of it, not bomb away, not just drag the footy and just hold up.
You know, Rocky, could he have just mean maybe throwing them off the centre a little bit?
I wouldn't have thought so. I think that's. I don't know about that, but I won't throw him under the bus like that, Rocky. But he might have just given us a bit of an insight into what and their takeaway from that Geelong game. So clearly they've brought it up. That night they only took 50 marks. Geelong took over 100. They got destroyed in the contested marking game. But I don't think he's talking about the contested marking part of the game. I think he's talking about the build-up, and I reckon we look at selection games. Ryan Burton they've brought back in, who hasn't played for a long time. So they're kickers out of the back half. You got McKenzie, you got Burton, you got Burn Jones, Hartlett. You got some really good users. So I'd be surprised if first option for Port Adelaide, if they do get stuck in their back half, is to go and bomb it long.
What have you seen when you look at this Port form line? I think since that time it's been pretty good.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, to beat Port Adelaide, you need to be strong in the contest. That is where they win the game. You can look at, I mean, that is an incredibly impressive profile, and one that has vindicated their position on top of the ladder all year. There aren't too many weaknesses within Port Adelaide's game.
No, I mean, their numbers, and we'll go through all of these in the lead up to this.
I think they needed the Collingwood game though, Gaz. Oh, that was a good test. The test Monday night, because previously Essendon, North Melbourne, Sydney and Hawthorn, I don't think the quality of opposition you would have liked as a run into.
That's why the doubters came a little bit throughout that period, and not that Port Adelaide had done anything wrong, but you looked at Richmond, you looked at Geelong and what they did to Port Adelaide, and you thought, no, well, they're the two number one seeds, because Port, while they've been strong, they haven't played one of the contenders yet.
Yeah, and we talk about doubters. I'll be interested to hear, and we'll talk to Rue later about what the vibe has been, Mark Rasciuto, the vibe has been in Adelaide, because I don't get that. I think there's plenty of respect for Port Adelaide, and there should be because of the way they're playing. Now, if you've had a look at it, have you noticed that the Cats are just a touch off?
Yeah, they've been a bit off, absolutely. So the last game against Sydney, clear example of that. So they had to throw Dangerfield to full forward and isolate him. So I don't think that's their first option. So yeah, there's no doubts there they've dropped off. They had a big win against Essendon. a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now, and since then I reckon they've just been a little bit off, and obviously they had to win against Sydney, and it became desperation stakes, Gaz, otherwise they wouldn't have qualified for the second chance.
They've had outliers within those games where they've been a little bit off, where they've just got smashed in a quarter, and then they've sort of been chasing their tail a little bit. The Western Bulldogs game was a good example.
Smashed in a quarter, we'll bring that up a little bit later. Their finals in recent times in first quarter is going to be all important tonight. Teams all important. 3 changes from a Port Adelaide point of view, 2 from a Geelong point of view. Kath Loughlin's all over it. She is our lady in the newsroom, Kath.
All over it tonight, guys. No late surprises. Teams are as named. So 2 changes for Geelong, as you mentioned. Reece Stanley and Tom Atkins are in. Azava Radaglia and Jack Stephen are out. Atkins missed the final game of the regular season due to soreness. Rui, is this the right call here? Atkins in for Stephen?
Yeah, it's a big call. We're talking about a 4-time best and fairest player that has been a proven match winner over a period of time. So it is a really big call, but I think it's the right call on team balance, particularly when you consider the way Geelong want to play. They want to shift the footy. They want to be really deliberate and accurate and efficient with the ball. Jack Stephen at times can be a little bit haphazard and almost a scattergun approach with the footy.
Pressure. That's what Atkins brings and Stevens perhaps doesn't. Kath, what about Port? 3 changes?
Yeah, just one more on Geelong as well. Reece Stanley coming in for his first game since round 14 due to that groin injury. He's a huge inclusion, isn't he? Geelong have won 6 of 7 games with Stanley in their side, including that whopping 60-point victory over Port back in round 12. For the Power, 3 changes. Zach Butters returns from suspension for his first ever AFL final. That kid looks destined to play on the big stage. Ryan Burton and Tom Cleary are back from injury. Burton back from a quad issue. Cleary back from a hammy. Jonathan Brown, does Tom Cleary get the job on Tom Hawkins? Does he start on Hawkins tonight? We know that he did back in round 12, and then Tom Jonas had to take over because Hawkins was just having a field day. Won 73% of one-on-one contests and finished with the 6 goals. So what do you do tonight?
Absolutely. If I'm Kenny Hinkley, I'm backing my man in. My main defender, Jonas, will be required on Dangerfield when he goes forward. But just remember, back in round 14 of 2019, Tom Cleary held Tom Hawkins to 5 disposals and no goals. So just go back to that. Look at the highlights of that game and say, you can do it, Tommy. You just we'll give you a mulligan for that round 12 game this year.
It's the art of coaching. Thanks, Kath. We'll get back to you throughout the course of the evening. Bought a game too, Kath.
Oh, yeah, some good numbers in there, Gaz.
Mark Rasciuto is our man on the spot. What are conditions like, Roo, please?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Absolute perfect conditions here at Adelaide Oval tonight. It's been in the early 20s all day. There's no wind, there's no dew on the grass, so conditions are perfect for a great game of footy. I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen here tonight. I've been asking the Port supporters. They're a bit up and down. Ken Hinkley's unsure, Chris Scott's unsure. There's great players on both sides. If Port are going to win and prove everyone wrong, they need to dominate in the midfield. We know that, and they can do that tonight with 2 very good ruckmen. I think Laddams is underrated by everyone outside of South Australia. He could be the X factor tonight, whether it is in ruck or up forward. We know what Charlie Dixon can do, and we know what their small forwards can do when they hit the ground. If Geelong go 2 or 3 up against Charlie Dixon, that'll open the door for Robbie Gray, Zach Butters and Connor Rosie to kick some goals tonight. So Port Adelaide have got plenty of weapons, but so have the Cats. Gary Ablett, everyone's telling me he's in great condition, better than what he was at the start of the year. We know Paddy Dangerfield loves the big stage. Will he play up forward more tonight? I think he's going to be a handful for Tommy Jonas if he does go forward, and we know what Joel Selwood does in big games. So I wouldn't look at last time when the Cats won it by 61 points. I think it'll be a lot closer tonight, and it may just be the side that kicks the straightest. So we'll catch you a bit later on. Should be a great night here.
Good on you, Roo. We're in very good hands. Mark Rasciuto on the ground down there, boys. Home ground. Let's not forget that either. Port Adelaide, the Adelaide Oval.
25,000 too, Gaz.
Going nuts.
They never tear us apart. They'll get the big warm-up. Yeah.
Own beds. That's nice. What a luxury for an AFL footballer to sleep in your own bed.
You can make such a strong case for both these sides, which is what makes it an unbelievably appetising match-up. And Kenny Hinkley, well, he's a man that's had a foot in both camps. Strong Geelong ties, of course, down there during the Malcolm Blight era. And also now firmly ensconced as the Port Adelaide coach. And a birthday yesterday. He hopes it comes, the birthday cake comes tonight.
Ken Hinkley, or Kenny from Camperdown as he's affectionately known, is the main man at Port Adelaide.
Tell him to go on. We want to respect, play football. We don't want to be showboaters.
He won't admit it this week, but he loves the Cats. He played 121 games for them. Almost won the Brownlow in 92, finishing third behind Scotty Wine and the big chieftain, Jason Dunstall. He played in 3 grannies as a Cat. Lost them all. He knows this rivalry well. He was a Cats assistant coach in 07 when these two finished first and second on the ladder. The Power fired a warning shot on the eve of the finals. The Cats responded big time in the granny.
Chris, could I just ask you, you're obviously in town to visit Trav?
A few years later, the Cats snuck into Adelaide in their trackies to try and poach the boy from Torquay, Travis Boak. Maybe they were underdressed because Boakey stayed. Kenny arrived shortly after.
Dixon from the pocket.
In 2020, they looked the team to beat. He loves to tell his team, just play, boys. And why wouldn't you, when your big blokes can do this? He made his intentions crystal clear.
We're going to start this year wanting to win the premiership in our 150th year. We're going to do everything we can to do that, so look out, we're coming.
They've passed every test thrown at them.
Hinkley's dropped butter straight through the middle.
He loves his old team. They love him. Just not tonight.
Yes, of course. Duty calls.
I need your keys and your motorcycle.
Snap, I'm on my way.
Terminator.
Who is it, honey? Everybody!
All the entertainment you love, all in one place. Yours.
Excuse me?
Did someone say KFC?
There's something right outside the window. You won't be the same. You're invincible. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Beneath the luxury trimmings lurks a monster.
When the things that matter break, use Sally's Power Grip with Silex technology. Shock resistant and long lasting. It sticks and withstands virtually anything. Sally's Power Grip. If it's Sally's, it works.
You too can get that winning peeling because the Monopoly game at Macca's is making winners. There's a 1 in 5 chance of winning instantly with $532 million worth of prizes to be won. Peel, play and win at Macca's today.
Dynamic performance. Sophisticated British style. MG Pilot Smart Speed Assist. The new standard in performance, style and safety. With so many impressive inclusions, this is value you've never seen before. The all-new MG HS, the SUV you've never seen before.
Can someone working alone solve all the world's biggest challenges? As we overcome the pandemic, isn't collaboration the way we'll bring clean water to the world's mega cities and produce enough food for a growing population? At SABIC, we believe that the chemistry between people is the chemistry that matters. SABIC.
Excuse me?
Did someone say KFC?
Well, the final's underway tonight. We cannot wait. Only 48 minutes before the bounce of the ball. We'll get stuck into Port Adelaide and Geelong, but we're also casting our minds ahead to Brisbane and Richmond on Friday night. The Dogs and the Saints, and then the Pies and the West Coast Eagles. But teams are in for tomorrow night's massive clash. Kath Loughnan, any surprises?
Not really, Gaz. Teams have just dropped, and as expected, the big inclusion is Brisbane's vice-captain Harris Andrews. Jared Berry is also back. Jack Payne and Cam Ellis-Yeoman are out. Gents, Rui in particular, how do the Brisbane Lions best use Harris Andrews tomorrow night? He's played on Tom Lynch in their past 3 meetings. Obviously, Lynch is now out. Do you put him on Jack Riewoldt?
Free him up and let him try and intercept the footy. So Gardner played on Jack last year and actually performed really well in that final up until about the last 10 minutes when Jack got a few late ones. But I think to beat Richmond, you're going to have to try and intercept the footy and then go back at them. So let Harris Andrews do what he does best without having to worry about a forward who's pretty agile. It might hurt him side to side.
I think he might be required on Marby or Chol if he's there. And I think Braden Starcevich has come along really well for Brisbane, and I reckon now he's got the potential to he can take Dustin Martin. Now, whether he can do it successfully is another thing, but he's got the power and the speed to be able to do that.
Did Harris Andrews play on Dustin?
He could in the aerial contest, but Dusty's not an aerial man. No. He's a ground level man. That'd be my concern if the ball hit the ground.
Tigers, Kath?
Yeah, for Richmond, Prestia and Bolton are in, Caddy and Ross are out. Dion Prestia is huge, and how good to see him back. He was the number 1 midfielder in the competition for the second half of last season, even surpassing Dustin Martin. He hasn't played since round 5, though, which is 3 months ago now. Does that concern any of you? He's coming straight back into finals football.
Not for me. They know his capabilities. Best and fairest in the premiership year, you earn the right to come back in. You put your hand up and say, I'm right, then you trust them.
They've done it again in terms of timing their run beautifully. So Prestia and Bolton, who in Prestia's absence this year has grown into a really quality midfielder as well. So pretty much a full bill of health for the Tigers.
It'll be interesting to see if it affects Bolton's role. Because he's essentially taken Presti's role, hasn't he? Yep. So how they sort of mix and match that.
Hey, Kath, we want to ask Jonathan Brown about the goal-kicking woes from a Brisbane Lions point of view. It's been an issue for them.
Yes, just a friendly reminder here, Brownie. 8 goals 17, 4 goals 17 in their past 2 meetings with Richmond. Dane Zorko said today they're expecting to be sledged about it when they're lining up for goal tomorrow night. So they've been sledging each other during goal-kicking practice training. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, you got to do anything to try and replicate that game pressure, but we all know it's hard to recreate, isn't it? I know they've been working hard in the last few weeks and they've improved slightly, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the individual, and whoever has that first shot at goal to take responsibility, steel himself, go back and...
I hope it didn't create division. There's always one teammate that would take that sort of... Too far with sledging.
Who was it at your club?
Mitch Robinson, I reckon. He would have pushed the boundaries of training, I reckon.
Hey, good on you, Kath. We'll be back throughout the course of the evening. Thank you for that. Richmond and Brisbane tomorrow night's going to be beauty. St Kilda, the Western Bulldogs, boys. Let's cast a quick eye to that. Team's not out yet, of course. Won't be out till tomorrow. But 1 kicks, 1 handballs. They both want to go quick.
Yeah, they both use it and they both score, but they aren't great defensively. So it's going to give both teams an opportunity to play the sort of footy they want to play.
Yep, absolutely. You said quick, Gaz.
See, that's why you're coachable. You just shut up and you let the Rui go.
Mate, he's the best analysis man in the game.
Hey,
just
we don't differentiate. We're
the role player, Brownie.
Go into West Coast Collingwood. Talk me through that one then. That comes up straight after St Kilda and the Bulldogs.
Collingwood supporters mark down 10 goals. Because if West Coast kick 10 goals, you won't win the game. That's a problem for Collingwood. Great defence, but they can't kick enough scores. And the name of the game is to kick more points than your opposition. And that's, try not to be a smart aleck, Gaz, but seriously, that is the game. And over at the Optus Stadium, West Coast, kick goals. So 10 goals is the mark for them.
That's why you're one of the best analysts in the game. And you kick more goals or you kick more than the other team, you win. It's as simple as that.
Basic, Gaz.
Pretty basic.
Time we lose sight of that game.
Time to focus back in on tonight's game. We'll dig deep into this. It's going to be huge. Top of the table, Port Adelaide in their 150th year. Geelong pushing hard for danger to send Gazza off maybe with another premiership. And that man's going to have a big say in it. We cannot wait. Port v Geelong tonight.
You're watching Finals Footy on Fox. Pre-game brought to you by Ford Ranger.
Harvey Norman, your destination for outdoor living, with our new season range on outdoor furniture and barbecues. The latest trends in timber, stone, aluminium and wicker, lounges or dining. Find the perfect solution to complete your alfresco area. A versatile collection for the ultimate in choice. Plus, we've got all your barbecue needs covered. Wood fire pizza ovens, smokers, charcoal and pellet grills, even outdoor kitchens you can design yourself. Plus, get 60 months interest free and receive a bonus gift card up to $500. Now at Harvey Norman.
Smart watches make life easy. Smart homes make life easy. And now, smart pool cleaners make every Aussie pool easy to clean. Book a demonstration at mydolphin.com.au.
When you see something like that for the first time, it's only natural to want to do it yourself. To live that life. Capable. Powerful. In control. That confidence. You just want to follow. I'm no different. I'll get there.
Not right now, obviously.
But one day.
When it comes to staying fit and healthy, make a change and achieve your goals with sports nutrition brands from Chemist Warehouse, like the trusted informed sports-approved INC range, Musashi and Vital Strength, the Aussie-made Bondi Protein range, and the Protein World range direct from the UK. There's also many more leading brands in stock and in-store now. So for all your sports nutrition needs, head in now to Chemist Warehouse, the home of sports nutrition.
Harvey Norman, everything for the heart of your home. Save up to $800 on selected Miele connected cooking appliances. Save up to $1,200 on selected AEG cooking appliances. Up to $1,000 cash back on selected Electrolux kitchen packages. Up to $1,000 cash back on Smeg Classic and Victoria cooking appliances. Up to $500 cash back on your new Westinghouse Aspire dark stainless steel kitchen. More great deals plus 60 months interest free with bonus gift card up to $500 now at Harvey Norman.
Supercoach Fantasy Horse Racing is back and bragging rights are on the line. So be sure to saddle up and dish the dirt on your mates. Visit supercoach.com.au to register today.
This is as dangerous as it gets, and this will come down. Hopefully not while I'm down here.
Outback Opal Hunters starts Thursday, October 8 on Discovery and watch on demand.
The victors, the winners and the big hitters. They don't know how to be quitters. Yeah, this goes out to the victors. Raise your glasses up. Shout it out, shout it out. This goes out to the victors. Come on, big hitters.
Welcome back for the qualifying final as we wait for Geelong to take on Port Adelaide, who've been outstanding this year. And the reason why they've been so good is Ken Hinkley's forward half press. It's been amazing in terms of the scoreboard returns, and you can see there pretty much number one in all key indicators across our competition. And it stands up against the best teams, the top 8 teams, the forward half. Lock the ball in the forward half, build pressure and create scores. Now, last time they played Geelong, it didn't work. Geelong were able to use one of two options. Win the ball back at half-back and play with patience, or, as you can see here, look at Blitzarv's eyes. He's gone. He's looking to play off. He's looking to get that ball out to the other side of the ground as quick as they possibly can. And Geelong are off and gone. They scored 57 points from the back half this night. And across the course of the season, Port Adelaide had only conceded 25 on average. So it was a huge night. And boy, did they have a party. One-on-one inside the forward 50. Hawkins, Rowan, Myers, they all cashed in. So it begs the question, if Port Adelaide cannot get what they want in terms of locking the ball in the forward half, this is the only way they score. It's the major component to the reason why they are top of the table in 2020. Can they win, Gary?
Good on you, Kingy. Well, they can, but I tell you what, if this alarm bell goes off, which we're about to introduce right now, you're in charge of Port Adelaide.
Yep.
That goes off. What are you looking at straight away? You hear that noise, what is it? Bang.
Yeah, well, the clearance battle is more important for Port Adelaide than any other team in the competition, because what it means, if they're not dominating clearance, Gaz, they're not locking in their forward half. They're on the back foot. So that's a problem for me. So I need to go to plan B or mode 2, but moving the ball. Now, clearly they've addressed that in selection. Tom Rockcliffe spoke about it a few moments ago in the press conference. He said that we need to start to build the uncontested marks, Gary. They've got the kickers in the back half, but they'll need them because they are the worst team in the competition the last 5 weeks from moving the ball from their defence to their forward.
Number 18 in the comp.
Number 18 in the. But look at these kickers: Burton, McKenzie, Houston, Hartlett, and Darcy Byrne-Jones out of their back line. There's no excuse, Gaz. Those guys are more than capable of moving the footy.
Kingy just showed us then how they went quick. So they go quick out of the back half. Nearly 10 goals they scored for the back half against a team that give up 25. They can go slow as well.
Yeah, they can. So we just heard from Brownie that Port, they want to play the forward half game. Okay, so they want to get it in there. They want to keep it in there. Geelong found a way through, and they did it exactly how Kingy said, by going quick. Still with their feet, they were still kicking and marking the footy, but they moved it quick. At times it was this. They possessed the footy. They took away Port's game because Port are the number 1 pressure team in the comp. So they want to get after you, they want to put pressure on you, and then you dump the ball out into an area where they can intercept and get repeat inside 50. So Geelong on this night, they took 108 marks. Jeez. Their next best for the year was 73. So 108 marks, 35 more marks than their next highest game from the season. So they won it back and then they controlled it. Okay, Port, they want to get after you. They want to get at you with their pressure. But Geelong were controlled, they were methodical, and they found a way through that famous Port forward press.
Yeah, and we speak about this a lot. They'll take kicks that you don't expect them to take. And on this particular night, Brownie, whether your team was off a bit...
sloppy, Gary. Not good enough. And the mark, get up in their faces.
108 marks. 108.
Well, it's not good enough. They were flat, but at the end of the day, they can't have excuse in a final.
Your alarm bell will go off all night. You won't score from the forward half, Brownie, if you allow the ball to come out, whether it's fast, as Kingy showed us, whether it's more precise. We know they've got gears, Geelong. They can move the footy from one end to the other a number of different ways, and that's been so precise. So really great pick-up, great stuff from Kingy. Tell us, the alarm bell in your box goes off when?
Yeah, well, the alarm bell goes off for Chris Scott.
Very annoying alarm, by the way.
It's a ripper, that one.
Chris Scott might just put his hand through the wall if they have an alarm like that in the box. And it'll be going off if Port Adelaide are dominating clearance, because 91% of games this year, when they win clearance, they win the games.
Right. So, I mean, you can strip everything back, but this has been their one wood. They're a clearance team, and that gives them field position. Then that allows them to play the game in their front half, all the things we've spoken about. So if they start to dominate from a clearance point of view, that's when you're going to hear that annoying alarm.
And they're built for it. When you look at the players they have running through that part of the
ground. I love how you said that, because Kenny mentioned that in the presser. He said we're built for finals. And it's on the back of the big bulls inside.
It is. So we're talking about Wines, Rockcliffe, Robbie Gray when he gets through there, Boak, Pal Pepper. Yeah. They are big, thick-set guys that can win their own footy.
Magnificent stuff, boys. Those labs are all brought to you by Xero. Fantastic supporters of ours. Yes, hand up.
Is that your alarm for Brekkie Radio in the mornings?
No, it's not. I couldn't do that, Jonathan. We'll be back. Lots to talk about still. That man's going to have a huge say. Does he play forward? Does he play in the middle of the ground? Tom Hawkins, Trav Boak. We got some of the genuine bona fide superstars in the competition. And then Charlie Dixon, it's a big night for him. At times he's dominated this competition. He didn't get the job done in round 12. Not solely his fault, but he has to match the output of Tom Hawkins, you would think, for Port Adelaide. You'd be nervous?
You'd be nervous.
We're all nervous. We're looking forward to this first final right here.
Doesn't look nervous.
By Ford Ranger.
You're watching Finals Footy on Fox pre-game, brought to you by Ford Ranger.
That's off the scale.
You're invincible. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Smart watches make life easy. Smart homes make life easy. And now, smart pool cleaners make every Aussie pool easy to clean. Book a demonstration at mydolphin.com.au.
Harvey Norman, everything for the heart of your home. Save up to $800 on selected Miele connected cooking appliances. Save up to $1,200 on selected AEG cooking appliances. Up to $1,000 cash back on selected Electrolux kitchen packages. Up to $1,000 cash back on Smeg Classic and Victoria cooking appliances. Up to $500 cash back on your new Westinghouse Aspire dark stainless steel kitchen. More great deals plus 60 months interest free with bonus gift card up to $500 now at Harvey Norman.
You too can get that winning peeling because the Monopoly game at Macca's is making winners. There's a 1 in 5 chance of winning instantly with $532 million worth of prizes to be won. Peel, play and win at Macca's today.
You're invincible. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
When you see something like that for the first time, it's only natural to want to do it yourself. To live that life. Capable. Powerful. In control. That confidence. You just want to follow. I'm no different. I'll get there.
Not right now, obviously.
But one day.
Big brands, great deals, now at Harvey Norman. Like this HP 14-inch laptop, a great all-rounder for just $338. Save $120 on this Lenovo IdeaPad 14-inch laptop, now $379. Or get this versatile HP Pavilion 2-in-1 laptop, powered by 10th Gen Intel Core i5 processor, $1,099. Plus, get 60 months interest free with bonus gift cards up to $500. Now at Harvey Norman.
Job for you.
Who are you looking for?
A man named Morgan Jones.
Is Mr. Jones dead or alive?
I don't know.
You will soon.
If you're listening to me, live.
You seen this man?
Only you.
Fear the Walking Dead begins Monday, October 12 on Fox Showcase and watch on demand.
Push the home button to access any award-winning shows, anytime for no extra. Explore complete seasons of the world's best dramas, available on demand.
Everything you need to know about Charlie Dixon is inked onto his knuckles. Love and pain. Loves his tattoos. Loves his cars.
In the fire.
More than anything, he loves this club, this city, and they love him right back.
Dixon from the pocket. He can't kick one. Get in front. But he kicks one from 5 rows into the stand. How good was that?
That's why when other clubs came knocking, he shook his head and put it back under the hood of his car. Pain, he knows well. He's been through more than most.
He's missed so much football through his career.
Love and pain. This week, you'll see both from Charlie. His love of a big mark.
Dixon, he's got it!
A long goal.
It's going to be hard. He's got the bruise. This is going all the way. What about that from Charlie Dixon?
The pain. That's not for him. It's for anyone in his way. He's a force. 2 metres worth of old school smash mouth power forward. He intimidates. Like Barry Hall. Like Derb. He snatches marks like Stewie Bucket Slow.
Dixon's up. King Charles. Right to the square. Where's Charlie this time? He goes one hand, 2 hands. Sends it back in the direction of Charlie again. What about that? 105 kilos
most important man for Port Adelaide.
In those hands, those tattooed hands, lie the hopes of a club, a city. It begins with the Cats.
Oh, I love it. I love it when Big Brownie gives the voiceover work. He gives a little bit extra when the big forward's involved. There's no escaping this. There's no escaping it for Charlie. There's no escaping it for Tom Hawkins. They are pivotal to what goes on. How do they sell this to this young man who got swamped by defenders and he's going to be swamped again on the weekend? They've got to strip it all back. Yep. This is not about marking for you. This is not about goals. This is about bringing the ball to ground, never being outmarked, and then all the things you spoke about then, the physical presence. Get around and make the rest of the boys walk tall, put a bit of fear and doubt into the opposition, and then the marks will come and the goals will come. The goals are the end priority for him, I reckon.
Absolutely. You need the midfield supply. Let's be honest.
Before you go, Chemist Warehouse player in.
Oh, Gary,
I've nominated him.
I'm pretty good at this too, the Chemist Warehouse. No, you're not. Normally my men go all right, Gaz, but Big Charlie, he obviously needs better supply from the midfield, no doubt about that. But you wouldn't mind, like any player, when we get bogged down in the game, boys, we played key forward, we need to get to work, don't we? Get to work early, maybe get on the end of a couple of uncontested marks, really.
Well, love and pain, it was painful to watch last time because he was left to rot at full forward. Yep. And all night it was this. It was long dump kicks in, predictable, but predictable to the opposition as well because they swarmed around him. So what do you do? Do you do something different if you're Ken Hinkley and Charlie Dixon to try and throw Geelong off and give yourself a better chance to get into the game?
Yeah, so, I mean, right now they would be planning for Charlie out of the goal square, the long kick in, the drop back and zone back. What do they do if Charlie starts at centre-half forward and Latham starts out of the goal square? Just for the start. Give him a different look. Give Harry goes, all week I've been planning for you out of the goal square. I'm now, which wouldn't worry Harry playing centre-half back, but for the drop-off players, what do I do then? It's, hey, you don't want to be dropping off at centre-half back.
Well, the ground's wider there, Gaz, isn't it? At centre-half back, the ground is wider. So it's harder for the defence and the wingers getting back to use as a reference point. If you're 20 metres out from goal, how easy is it? You just roll back and then they just crash into you. So it's just...
Mix it up.
Oh, you've got to build your game. It gets back to building your game, no doubt.
And build your confidence too, because for a player that didn't touch it basically last time in this corresponding game, to get a couple of early touches, that anxiety, that nerve, that'll just drop away straight away and you'll be in the game.
And before we go to the other end, he strikes me as a player who's going to feed off this Adelaide Oval crowd. I just think it makes a difference. And I know people say, well, that's rubbish, you know. And he will go to the MCG if they get there in grand final day and perform and still do his best, but I just think he's going to get a massive lift.
He'll be singing Never Tear Us Apart with the crowd before the game.
With a tear in his eye.
Absolutely, he will be. It'll be great. I want to see him jumping too. You're always a good sign with key forwards, isn't it, when they're launching at the ball.
And some collateral damage along the way.
Absolutely. You want to see
final.
See some bodies dropping, absolutely.
Okay, so we talk about that, and he's had no room to work in. And then we've got the famous Hawkins Island at the other end of the ground. It's trademarked here. He said this is something that they are going to have to contend with again, and I want you to tell me how they're going to contend with it, boys.
Well, exactly what we saw from Charlie Dixon's point of view was numbers around him. So Geelong have so often been able to set up this Hawkins Island throughout the season, and it looks like space. So you can see Tom Hawkins isolated at the bottom of screen, inside 50. So there's not a huge amount of work rate that's going on there, but you look at the players ahead of the ball. They're all running, they're all moving, they're all making their corresponding defender be accountable. So you can't roll off and zone and get into Tom Hawkins' space with the one-on-one contest.
So Scott Lycett's the ruckman here. He's just poor. I mean, this is poor. He's got to be able to push back much harder. He's manning no one right there. But then it might be a defensive winger as well. I reckon that's Dersma to his right. Yeah, then their half forwards have got to get higher to cover those Geelong players, and then they can get back and support.
So contrast here what Scott Lycett does with what the Geelong defenders and ruckmen were doing to Charlie Dixon at the other end of the ground. That can't happen again if you're Port Adelaide. So you've got the ruckman there, you've got him running a defensive pattern back into the hole. Get to the reference point. Yeah. Get to the bloke that we know the footy is going to be kicked to in Tom Hawkins.
The other thing is too, Tom Cleary, does he need to change his starting position up? Like, if I'm playing Tom Hawkins, I don't want to stand in front of him or I don't want to stand beside him. He's going to monster you. So I think he needs to start from behind, does he?
Yeah,
because Tom's going to be looking for him.
Yeah,
push him up, hope that there's pressure up the ground and you're not getting the supply that Dangerfield got against Sydney. That's the other option here. We think Patrick Dangerfield's going to have to play midfield because the clearance battle is so critical, but this, for Ford Ranger leading the conversation, Paddy Dangerfield forward, Paddy Danger midfield, where are you placing him?
Well, I think because it's Port Adelaide. So if I'm Chris Scott, I'm planning throughout the week and I'm looking at Port Adelaide. 91% of the times they win clearance, they win the game. They've got big mids in there. So we need our biggest bull, get him in there and try and win clearance and take that away from Port.
It was interesting too. Spot on, really. He's in that round 12 game he did a lot of centre bounce, which he'll do tonight, but then he essentially went forward as a pseudo centre forward and dragged up the Port Adelaide defenders to help isolate Hawkins. So that's a concern. If he's allowed to just play centre forward after the centre bounces, I think that shows that Geelong's got their game, how they want it. So they need to keep him in the centre bounce a lot and stay midfield.
He turned the game against Sydney. They're in dangerous, they're a precarious position. They may not make the top 4. He's played midfield, not much has worked. So he goes out of the goal square. Now, you would hope in a final, in a big cutthroat final here, that they're not going to get time and space like this to kick the footy. But that paddock right there, I don't care who's playing on Pat Dangerfield.
Did you ever get a kick like this, really? You wouldn't have got one from Joey Montagna.
I didn't get one towards the end, but through the middle there, Lenny Hayes and BJ and those boys might have dusted me off a few times.
Yeah, he got about 4 kicks like that, but I think that's the break gas in case of emergency, isn't it, Gaz? If we see that tonight, you know that Geelong's on the back foot.
Well, it might depend on a lot of factors. It might depend on Gary Ablett, who's had a nice run under his belt. He's come back. We know the whole situation where he's been home. He's got some good game time under his belt. What's he going to bring tonight? What's he bringing in a final? He did a great job against Sydney. He was clean. His disposals were great. He found plenty of the footy, made a difference. We love the fact that he was able to get as much of the ball because when he gets it, Gary Ablett creates something. We know that. But can he reproduce tonight?
I think as a player like Gary Ablett, there is such a premium placed on his touches because when you play him in the forward line, he's clean and he's smart. So you get really good value and return on him winning the footy in that part of the ground.
Yeah, and he's not going to just bomb it in, is he? He's going to be able to spot up someone inside 50. So if you're a Port Adelaide defender and Gary Ablett's got the ball, get on your man, because he'll find him. He has the vision for it. And look, he's replaced Simpson or Fogarty that played in that round 12 game. So clearly he gets selected ahead of those guys. But it's a big ask, boys, to come in and still have the touch like this and the fitness. But first up, boys, is always easier.
Yes.
And that's what he was against Sydney.
It's been 10 years since he played really well in a final. 10 years. So 2010, his last game for Geelong against Collingwood was a big final that he tore apart. He completely dominated. The Cats didn't win.
Yeah.
Then he obviously went to the Gold Coast and played in 3 finals last year back at the Cats, but didn't play that well in either of them. This has got fairy tale written all over it if you're Gary Ablett. And I still think he is absolutely capable of tearing a game apart.
He's got an opportunity, guys, because I think the Port Adelaide defenders, there's about 5 running defenders there that, it's not their go to be the closest tight checking defenders. So he'll get a bit of room, I reckon.
Well, it might be Burn Jones, recently anointed All-Australian, might have to go and do the job because when he gets ball in hand, that's when, Hawkins is as dangerous as anyone in the competition, but Rowan comes into play because of his ball use, and sometimes he'll kick the ball where the forward needs to lead. You don't have to be that smart. You just go and get on the end of it. He may very well be the Carlton Draft Man of the Match. Don't forget to vote for that, by the way.
Oh, Mother's Milk.
Get on.
Beautiful.
Mother's Milk. foxsports.com.au/mum. That's not Mother's Milk, that's Man of the Match. So get on and have a vote for that right now.
That's the American mum.
Which way are you leaning, boys? You got a little early Carlton Draft Man of the Match in your mind?
Travis Boak.
Oh, I like Travis Boak. I'm going to go with Robbie Gray. I think Port Adelaide will win, and you do too, don't you?
I do.
All right, let's go now to Mark Rasciuto, who's our man on the spot there at Adelaide Oval, and he's with the coach of the Geelong Footy Club, Chris Scott.
Not a bad night for footy, Scotty.
It's been a beautiful day here, Roo. Might get a little bit slippery later on, but I think the conditions overall will be pretty good.
Is it fair to say you're less reliant on your stars this year? You look like you got a little bit more depth in the midfield and around the ground.
Yeah, I think we've been working on that for a long time. We've losing Tim Kelly last year, he was second in our best and fairest 2 years in a row, was a really important player for us. So it was important that we continued the evolution of guys like Menegola and Guthrie and Parfitt. There are others as well, but yeah, both ends of the ground. We've got a young defence as well who will play together for a long time. So, look, Hawkins, Dangerfield, Selwood are pretty good players still. We'd like them to play well, but if they don't, we think we can still win.
What about Gary Ablett? I heard a little rumour had his shirt off around the pool the other day. He's in pretty good nick.
Yeah, he is in good nick. All the objective measures are pretty good, but you know the best objective measure at all is when the shirt comes off.
What are you worried about with Port mostly?
Oh, a fair bit. It's a long list. I think even listening to them after we played them last time, they're going to prioritise the contest, and when they're on their game in the centre bounces, they can be a real threat because it's hard to get the ball out of your back half against them. So they support the ball from behind as well. I think they'll run the risk of opening up their defence to prioritise winning the ball. So that's going to be a real challenge for us to break even in there.
Good luck tonight, mate.
Thanks, Roy.
Cheers.
Here they come, the Cats. Ooh, 18 minutes, getting closer. This has been a great evolution of footy over about 15 or 20 years, just how relaxed they are these days when they run out onto the field. I mean, they all know where they need to be at arousal level. Got this under control, and there's the crowd. There's the crowd factor kicking in.
Haven't heard anything like that.
No, we haven't seen it all year. It's great, isn't it? Chris Scott, you know him well, Brownie. Would he be feeling pressure? 4 wins, 11 losses in finals since around 2012?
Well, he thinks he's acknowledged it, but he thought they started well in the prelim last year against Richmond. They won the final a week before, so he thinks it's a bit of a furphy. The finals, certainly the slow starts to finals. He would be focusing on the basics. He knows from our old coach Lee Matthews, he just had to drill down to the fundamentals and the basics of finals football. And that's what he would be telling his team. And obviously they've got the MO of how to beat Port Adelaide, which they did in round 12.
It's real though, surely.
Less reliance too now, and he mentioned on the champs for Geelong, because you've had the organic growth from within of Menegola, of Guthrie, of Stewart, of Blicavs. So
Henderson back in the side's
absolutely.
been huge.
So they bat a lot deeper. This is a different Geelong team from last year.
All right, for Gary Ablett is as lauded as any footballer, and rightfully so in the competition. You go to Adelaide and Robbie Gray is held in that sort of esteem.
He's
and
won
high
4
regard.
BNFs, hasn't he?
Well, in terms of just X factor and ability and skill and talent, if Gary Ablett's the absolute benchmark, then Robbie's chasing him, and if he's not making ground, he's very, very comfortable in the conversation.
Well, made a late charge to the All-Australian squad. Rui, he was fantastic, and he plays probably 50-50 midfield forward. He's dangerous. Who does he get if he goes forward? Does O'Connor have to play on him, who's the best small defender for Geelong?
Just as you talk about that, Tom Papley ran riot against this team last time they played Sydney against Geelong as a small forward. I mean, Eddie Kickshake could have kicked 6 or 7 goals.
O'Connor hasn't been beaten all year until Papley did the
So you back him in again?
I think you back him in, but you're nervous. You're nervous about this part of the ground if you are Geelong, because at times opposition small forwards, opposition small mids, they've been able to get forward and they've been able to hurt Geelong.
I like him. He plays plenty of midfield time as well, guys. I like him there. There's a little master.
I'm just ready for this Port Adelaide. We'll just shut up and have a listen when this Port Adelaide team run out here, because let's just have a listen to this. A little bit of hair on the back of your neck right there for little Zachy Butters and Connor Rosie and these boys that have never played in a final. Tom Rockcliffe. Don't worry about the young blokes. Only 25,000.
25,000, yeah.
They'll be making noise for 50. Don't you worry about that. And look, when the stars align, they align. They've finished on top of the ladder. It's their 150th year. It's a huge year in their history.
No injuries, Gaz.
No injuries on their home deck. Haven't had to get out. Look at Kenny. Kenny's been the man. He's been the personality of the year.
He has, and he has been from the start of the season. So he was the one at the very start of the year when we had the first break after round 1. He was talking about possibility. He was talking about what are the opportunities for this group. So he had a really good frame of mind to start the season, and they looked very early like a team with a bit of destiny about them, and I think the coach really set the scene for that.
And if they've had a little chip on their shoulder about not getting enough respect, which I don't think is right, but if they have, what a stage for them to put it to bed and just walk off with their chest out and say, yeah, cop that, we're finished on top for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the great footy men, Ken Hinkley. You love playing for him. Keeps it basic, and you're right, really. He came out at the start of the year and he threw the challenge up and he hit the challenge front on. didn't shy away from the pressure of Port Adelaide failing over the last few years. He put it on the table and said, no, we are ready for it. I loved it, and I think they're ready to go because of that, the players.
All right, so here it is. What a stage. The stage is set. It looks magnificent. As I said, it's been one of those years where we wondered whether or not we're going to get there. We're here, boys.
That's footy, isn't it?
It's right there.
We've missed that all year.
We've got a crowd that's going nuts for one team and booing another. Well, let's work through some of these what-ifs now, because all the planning's been done. We've had the week off, so you can go twice as hard. We know it's been difficult for teams that are up in the hub from a training point of view, but in terms of their preparation, I've talked to coaches. They've had not much else to do other than pour over stuff.
Do you think Chris Scott, though, because they had such a resounding win in round 12, guys, against Port Adelaide, do they go with the same MO? Like, it seems as though the selection table have gone with exactly the same except for Ablett. Or Chris Scott, we talk about being a great game day coach. Does he throw something different at us?
I think the way they want to play is the way they want to play. They know they're not going to get the same sort of looks, Geelong. The Port Adelaide were way off that night, so the contest stuff is not going to look the same. But I'm going with your plan A, because I think Geelong have proven over the journey and over the course of this year that within games they can make adjustments. So we saw them 6 goals down against the Bulldogs. They found a way. And that's one of the bonuses of having a really experienced squad that can adapt mid-game.
Right, let's deal with a couple of what-ifs. Patrick Dangerfield, what if he does go forward yet they can't find room for him? Is it just a simple matter of switching him back in?
Absolutely. Well, you're the coach, mate. You're the Geelong coach.
Yeah, I think it is, Gaz, particularly if Port Adelaide are starting to get on top of clearance. It's great to have that luxury. I'd start him in the middle and try and get the game on our terms moving forward.
What if plan A doesn't work? How quickly do you switch, or how strong are you wedded to your plan A?
It's only in dire circumstances, I think, that you try and break away from it. But so remember Patrick Dangerfield's words in the post game when they just beaten Port Adelaide. They said, we knew it was 2 goals a quarter, chip away, chip away, chip away, while sticking true to our method. Tidy a few things up, but stick to the method.
What if Dixon starts to get on top of Taylor and starts to push him and Henderson around and starts to dominate in the air?
Well, they've got blitz halves up their sleeve, and blitz halves are a tricky key defender. He's played on Charlie Dixon in the past, did a pretty good job on him the year before, so I don't think they would want to do this, Rui. Blitz halves will probably start out in the wing, but they can pull that if they need to.
I think you can also, if that's occurring, it probably means you're not getting enough support around the actual contest like we saw in round 12. So put a priority on Big Charlie. Don't worry about double teaming. Let someone else beat you, basically. Don't get beaten by what you know.
What about Dan Houston? Now, this is one that he played against Collingwood in such a way, he became one of the great intercept markers. He had 7 or 8, I think, at least.
Yeah, he did.
And became an issue. What if he starts to dominate in that area? What if he's the one that gets getting in the space of Tom?
Yeah, well, you can use a defensive forward on him, I suppose. You know, you've got Atkins came in. He might be a little bit small for him, but Houston was outstanding. And I've mentioned before today that they've already got some really good ball users, Port Adelaide, having to bring you out of there. But you can't allow an opposition player to have 8 to 10 intercept marks. So whether you play that defensive forward on him, make him more accountable, and go through that man's play.
Tidy up your ball
that
use.
man's
I think that feeds a little bit into the Atkins selection over Jack Stephen, because when Jack Stephen wins the ball, he takes off. It's flat out. Everything's flat out. Not always the best decisions going forward. So Atkins is a bit more composed with the footy. He brings great pressure, we know, but fix the ball use up.
It also speaks to the fact, though, that they've all got to be dangerous. I mean, you can have Myers as an interceptor, and you can have Atkins Myers as your small defensive, and Atkins, but they've got to be goal kickers too in their own right. So Houston can't peel off them that he's going to get hurt.
I think Gary Rowan's going to be important for that role, isn't he? You know, and he's had his last 3 finals have been pretty poor, so he needs to stand up and be that forward option. You know, he needs to walk off with. You'd want him at least having, I think, 2 or 3 shots on goal tonight, having his 14, 15 touches, a few marks.
You want to control the footy if you're Geelong. So control the 108 marks last time. They didn't allow Port to get their pressure game going. Best pressure team in the comp.
What if Port, they got this wealth of X-factor forwards, small forwards. We talked about Robbie Gray. Butters has just got that magic. Connor Rosie can do anything. What if they start to make life difficult for Buse and O'Connor? I mean, it's an area where, not so much this year, but they have been vulnerable in the past.
Big Charlie gets it to ground, so that's the most important part. Bring those ground level players in. I'm not sure Geelong have a quick solution for that. That would be an area that I would be worried about if I was Chris Scott. That's why they put such a premium on being able to get numbers back. So we know their wingers roll back to support, their half forwards come up to fill that space, to try and outnumber at ground level. So last time it was plus 18 contested possessions in the back half in Geelong's favour. They want to replicate it.
Absolutely. I think the Port Adelaide are very good at a forward stoppage team, but in that game against Geelong, they had a lot of forward 50 stoppages, but they only scored 1 point from there. So they've got to get Butters and Rosie and Gray and Powell Pepper and these guys dangerous around those stoppages. Get more creative around there. Don't stand still.
Touched on this earlier. Charlie's going to be pivotal. Charlie's going to have a huge role in this. If he gets hot, this is what happens with big key forwards in finals, is that they energise the rest and give confidence and belief to the rest of the group. So to get him involved early is important. We spoke about this, Charlie at half forward. Maybe not for the whole game, but just to present something different.
The flip side of the energising the rest of the group is the longer you go without doing that, without having an influence, without having the impact, the pressure builds and grows, and you start to become desperate as a key forward, and you can almost run yourself into bad spots. So it's really important for him and his confidence that he gets away early.
He used to run off the square and clean a midfielder up, Gaz, back in the old days, but now 6'6", it's a bit hard. So,
I mean, there is still room for him to be an enforcer. I mean, I'm not talking about to the point where he doesn't play the next game they're involved in, but, hey, this is a final. This is an opportunity for him more than any other player on the ground to impose himself on this Geelong team.
What's a key forward's bread and butter? How many contests you get to. So that's got to be his marker, doesn't it? And it's not wait till half time, it's quarter time. I need to walk off the ground at quarter time with X number of contests that I've been in.
And give him a chance. Give him a chance, Brownie. You know, there's nothing worse in terms of trying to impact in the air and be an enforcer. If the ball's kicked on your head and you're camped under it, you can't do anything. You're a sitting duck. So kick it out, let him launch. Kick it on a small bloke's head. If they want to sit in the hole, kick it on his head and let Charlie run through him and stick the knees in.
You're right. And they were poor last time kicking the ball to Charlie Dixon. I would have been really disappointed if I was Charlie. I would have given him a fair old rock at the mid.
What about finals experience? I mean, Geelong have been there 19 or 20, is it? I can't off the top of my head, but this is why you give them absolute credit to Chris Scott, is you keep putting themselves, they mightn't have won finals recently, but you keep putting yourself in a position to win one. Is that going to be an advantage?
Yeah, so people want to criticise Chris Scott and the finals record, particularly those slow starts within the game, so those quarters. But Geelong, they've given themselves great opportunities every year. Right. 20 points up last year in a preliminary final. So there are no guarantees. You just got to get there and give yourself the best chance, and Geelong have done that again.
Do you address this? This is all of their finals. I know it's been in the paper, it's been reported all week. Do you address this or not?
He's spoken about it in the press conference, so yeah, he's addressed it. But as I said, I don't think he wants to get carried away with it. They started well against Richmond, who been the best side the last 3 or 4 years. Their second final last year, they started well again. So, I don't think it's too much of an issue. They just got to get the fundamentals right, get the basics right. Finals are all about the contest. They've got to get their contest work right. It's very simple. Same as Port Adelaide. So they're big bulls inside. They need to go to work against Port Adelaide's Bulls, and they need to at least even that contest up in the middle of the ground, and that'll certainly go a long way to setting up their game style.
Look for players to be clean early in the contest. Yeah. So a lot of players are going to get their hands on the footy and win that first possession, but the ability to be clean from there and then get the ball and bring a teammate in and get value from that first possession is so critical in finals footy.
Well, like about Tom Hawkins' dominance, 6 goals in the last game, Gaz. Do you go with Cleary? Do you give Cleary another crack?
Yep, throw him in there, but hey, it's not about Tom Cleary, it's about how much support you can give to him, because Tom Cleary can be as good as he can be ever, and I think one-on-one Tom Hawkins is still going to have a night. All the planning's over, all the preparation's over. This is where you take the deep breath. If you're Joel Selwood, I mean, what a joy it is for a young player in this Geelong side to look over and see Joel Selwood there as your captain. And likewise, from a Port Adelaide point of view, Tom Jonas is enormously underrated as a player and a leader, and we acknowledge what a great job he's done to get his side into these finals on top of the ladder. Lining up now, we'll hand over. This is going to be massive. We'll be back at half-time. Hopefully we've got a story to tell. I'm sure we will have. But let's now cross for the welcome to country.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Australian Football League and Premier Partner Toyota welcome you to the first qualifying final between Port Adelaide and the Geelong Football Clubs. The AFL acknowledges the Kaurna people, the traditional owners of the land we gather on tonight, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We acknowledge we play our great game on this land and respect the cultures of all First Peoples, their contribution to our nation and contribution to the game of Australian rules football. We now introduce senior Kaurna custodian Carl Winder-Telfer for the welcome to country.
Greet you to the spirit of our place, and Yelika welcome you to culture.
We welcome you to the 2020 AFL Finals.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you now please join with the coaches, players and umpires for the Australian National Anthem.
So much to read into those faces as we go along the line. He needs a win in the final. What a coach he's been, but he needs a win in the final. Let's go down to Gavin Wanganeen and to you, Mark Soderstrom.
Oh, Bruce, magnificent atmosphere. And Gav, I was just watching you during that national anthem. I think the game face was on. I could see you starting to get a little bit toey. It's just brilliant here, isn't it, right now?
Oh, the atmosphere is just unbelievable. Gee, wouldn't you love to be out there tonight?
Now, Gav, I've got to say now, these two clubs, they're the highest scoring teams in the comp. They're the best at contested football. What do you want to see when the start of the game is right now to see who's on?
Well, last time they played, Port got smashed by Geelong in the midfield, so you expect them to come out extremely hard. And like in a finals game like tonight, it's important to get your hands on the footy early so you can settle the nerves and set the tone for the rest of the game.
Just seen the toss there now. Gav, who wins and why?
Look, I mean, hard to go past Port tonight, home crowd, and they'll be keen to rectify that last time they played.
Going with Port? Yep. Rightio. Is that with your heart or your head?
Bit of both.
Right, back to you, Bruce.